Good evening and welcome to Face to Face for the Newsfirst team. I'm Niresh Eliathambi. My guest tonight is the Honorable Harshana Nanayakkara, Minister of Justice and National Integration, who is with us once again. I think this is his third time since he became the Minister that he has visited and kept us all abreast of what improvements are being made in the justice system, in the prisons department, the courts, and all of the other departments which are involved in the system of justice. And he's here after, I think, 2 months, 2-month period, perhaps, I believe, yes. But I do believe it's the third time since December when you were appointed. Right, so good evening to you and welcome once again.
Good evening, Niresh. Thank you for having me.
This time, let's talk about what improvements have been made and what is going on in the country. What are the major issues? And let me start with one aspect, which is the system of justice had broken down. We know this. Judges were under pressure. We have a police chief who was removed now. There is a former commander of the Navy who was arrested, and so on and so forth. So the public faith in the justice system had eroded alarmingly. And now, after the NPP government took office and you became Justice Minister, I know you have been working very hard to restore public faith and to do that from the ground up by increasing the effectiveness of each of your departments. And I believe you have some 20-odd departments.
24
departments, all of which have something to do with the justice system. Right. So right now there is a controversy over this Chemmani mass grave, and I'd like to ask you, what is the progress? What is the system that is being followed? Because once again, I think the government needs to be transparent and to show what is being done and what will be done, and the entire scientific and judicial process that needs to be followed.
Thank you so much, Niresh. It's a very important question, because I feel the biggest thing about my coming here is actually telling very openly, in accountable fashion, what the government is engaged in. And right now, the issue you raised about Chemmani, it's a very valid point and a very, very topical thing, because there's a lot of misinformation or exaggerated information being shared on social media and other platforms.
We live in the age of social media.
Yeah. And also, some statements are simply made, we can see, looking for political mileage. But some certain doubts are entertaining the minds of even the average citizen because of the history of this country. If you look at, Chemmani is not the first one. We have Suryakanda, we have Matale, right? And right now there are about 14 sites which have been identified and we are working on. So what happened in the past?
So can I interrupt there? You said 14 sites that you're working on.
Yes.
Would you like to name those sites and to say
I've brought them.
Where exactly the status is on each of those?
Yeah. Very briefly, basically I'm going to tell you a few places, altogether I believe 17.
17.
Altogether 17, right? Now these are just the basics. We have the Satasa building, or it in Mena, that's we call it Satasa building site because it was found in the Satasa building. Now a comprehensive analysis of report is still pending. Then Tiruketiswaram, funds have been allocated for carbon dating. Putukudirapu, Sutanti Tirapuram, Mangulam, antemortem information and analytical report is pending. Even Oddu Sudan. In Kokotuduai, antemortem information is commenced. No more human remains or artifacts are left over the site. Everything has been removed and carefully stored for judicial analysis. Palali Palali 2, Palali 3 and Mugammalai 4. Analysis report and decision making is pending. Kurukal Madam, court case is ongoing. Matale mass grave and crime site, court case ongoing. I'll explain to you why what I'm saying is court case ongoing. Then Suryakanda, court case ongoing. Port City, there's a Port City issue. Excavation and exhumation work is on progress. Funds have been approved and allocated. And Sampur, excavation and exhumation work in progress. Funds were approved and allocated. And Chemmani, the last one. Now, what is this court case is going on? First, the government is not the arm who investigates. It is done by the magistrate, the judiciary, an independent organization. They are the ones who are instructing how the investigation should proceed. So the government gets adjusted to this place through the Office of Missing Persons, which is under my purview. Now, according to the Office of Missing Persons Act, we always have the ability to join in as observers and assist the progress. So the funds are allocated by the Ministry of Justice. Whenever the court orders this has to be done, the site has to be protected, we don't decide anything. The judge decides. Now, if you take Chemmani for an example, the protection is, now how Chemmani was found, it was a local cemetery which has been used from 1971 as a cemetery. They were trying to establish a new crematorium. So when they were digging, these bones came out and the people complained to the police and the police took it to the courthouse. So the courthouse ordered, it is the community and the police are now protecting the site, right? So when you say court case in progress, that means the court is giving orders, right? So naturally, because of the past, people tend to feel the governments are trying to cover up. But believe me, we are the only government. There are so many mass graves, right? You can't carry, everybody knows those mass graves are there. But which government took an active initiative? We did with Chemmani, we did with Satusa, and we are still doing it. And we are very open about it. This time when the UNHCR Human Rights Chief came here, I mean, he even went to the site and saw there's nothing for us to cover up. So therefore, whatever the stories you hear in social media, we are trying to cover up is trying to create a ghost from the past. It will not be applicable for us. However, what is the difficulty? Why I'm very alarmed? People are jumping into conclusions saying, this happened at Chemmani, this number of people, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm not denying for a moment a serious crime would have taken place of a massive nature, mass murder, or whatever the name you call it. But in order to prove matters in court, to find a culprit, to punish them, there's a serious investigation required.
There is a scientific process.
There's a massive scientific process which cannot be done like a bull in a china shop or at a speed that politicians of various interests try to dictate to us terms. First of all, the exhumation stage. That's where we recover all the bone structures very carefully, store them carefully, without any contamination, get them across for judicial examination and forensic examination. Multidisciplinary teams of architects, forensic scientists, JMOs are working in the process. All are facilitated by us. Now 141 skeletons have been exhumed and excavated. And we are still on Chemmani, the first stage of what we call the process of identification of wrongdoers in a loose sense, right? This is too early because we are not doing this investigation in order to cover up a particular person or a group of persons or in order to target a particular group of persons. The evidence gathering has to be done with forensic matters and legally acceptable standards. So once that stage is done, right, one is done, what is the next stage? Next stage will be the biological identification, which the forensic scientists and the JMOs would do. That is using the bone structure. You can tell things like sex, or you can tell things like age, or particular deformity they have. They can have a general, the age and things like that. Now, when that biological thing comes, and also, I mean, although I explain in stages, these things do take place together, one after the other. I'm just for clarity, I'm giving them as stages. Then comes, you have to try to determine a cause of death also. I mean, are there any bullet wounds in the bone structure, any trauma, or anything of that nature to suggest a form of foul play? Now, of course, it's easy on YouTube or Facebook to make a statement, oh, they were shot dead in a brutal one. I'm not denying. I'm sure it may have happened. Not denying it for a moment. Not denying or taking with the seriousness. I'm telling you these things to show what a difficult task a genuine government has in their hands to do it properly. So once you do that stage, then we figure out, okay, fine, this could be the determined possible cause of death. Then The most difficult.
Now that cause of death is determined by the forensic scientist.
Forensic scientist, not the government, or for that matter even the court. It is done by the forensic scientist. Thereafter, what is important is identification of the victim. Right? Now the bone structure could, it's a 5-year-old child or a woman or a person with some form of a short leg. I mean, for an example, I don't have any information like that. Then the public health will be called upon. Some they might say, oh, my child was like 10, or my son was 25, he was like this. But again, it will be helpful if artifacts are found. Now in Germany also artifacts are being found, which are very carefully labeled and kept on a side. So at that stage, we'll be able to give a positive identification for the victim. And only once that takes place, the CID will be ordered by the magistrate or other people to investigate the possible offenders, whether we can trace. So as you can see, there are a number of stages you have to successfully complete before delivering what we call justice. So I hear protest saying, oh, give justice to the victims of Germany. Of course we should. There should be closure. They need to know the truth. But this government's responsibility is to make sure the evidence is gathered properly without any contamination. So we'll have a foolproof case at the end of the day.
Now I have to ask you, in this particular area, during the war, there were many other players as well. So first you need to trace this to 1996, which is the point of contention, where of course the soldiers in the Krishanti Kumaraswamy trial had confessed that they buried so many hundreds of bodies. But you may also, this being a cemetery, you may find bodies from previous times, and
this is exactly the point I am trying to get the people to understand, because I mean your viewers are unbiased, intelligent, educated lot, right? I want them to know, I am telling you these things, why this is so difficult, because as you know, you pointed out, now we have to exclude all other possibilities and corner or frame foul play bit, because that's what we can file a case or take action for, not for natural causes. Now this has been a cemetery, you are very correct, from 1971 it has been a Hindu burial site, okay? But in a Hindu burial site, finding of bone structures are rare. Why? Because their tradition is to cremate. This is why it becomes suspicious. Otherwise, finding a bone from a cemetery will not raise suspicion. But having said that, we also need to figure out now the common belief, right? Okay, X did it, Y and them did it. That's not the case. If you look at it, from 1983 to 1987, that area, that is Navatkuli.
There was an army camp.
Yes. That was the Sri Lanka army. Between 1987 and 89, that army camp was attacked by the LTT, and there was a massive fight with LTT and other paramilitary groups. So by 1987-88, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, army has lost control of the area. In between 89 and 1991, the IPKF was there, assisted by other paramilitary groups at the time. And 1991 to 1994 October, LTT controlled that area. Now please don't, I'm not trying to cast any doubt on any person or any wrongdoing. We are not going to cover up. But look at the reality. These were not like, some very peaceful cities during the times I mentioned. There was armed war between a lot of factions. And in 1995, there was exodus, where all the Jaffna district was moved to Wanni overnight by the LTT at the time. And they used a Chemini tiny bridge. So we have stories about that also. So now look at it. Whom are we going to pin a blame on? Now as the Minister of Justice, I am not pinning the blame on anyone till all the forensic investigations are over. Because it's up to the government, or rather the courthouse, to make sure the investigations are done properly and all of the accidental possibilities are excluded.
Right. So you need
Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
Can I add one more thing? From the same cemetery, I know we have taken photographs. Some bodies were in post-mortem bags were also found.
Post-mortem bags. Which
So
means that they were ordered by a court.
I mean, how can there be a post-mortem bag if it was done in another manner? So this is an area which has gone for a number of decades, right? With a lot of foul play from many parties. And also there are some burials where courts have ordered not to cremate but for some reason they are also there. But they are distributed in a different manner. So what I am asking everybody, not to jump into a conclusion yet as to what would have happened, who did it. Allow the government to carry out. We are very open, very transparent. Even today I am talking about it here simply because I want the people to know that only this government is this open, and we are committed because we don't differentiate between North and South. But quite unfortunately, some politicians from the North and some even from the South could say things to create suspicion and racial tensions. But believe me, these are National People's Power government. Whatever they say now, same old script they told about the previous governments. We are not that. So what I want, Rohit, is a very difficult task. Look at all the timelines. But that's why we are waiting for proper forensic analysis, and no stone will be unturned in order to achieve justice for these people.
Right. So you need to establish who the actual victims were.
That's number one.
Because in any murder case, you have to say murder of this person.
If he has died of natural causes, there won't be a crime.
Exactly. And then you need to identify which time period, which year.
Absolutely.
And perhaps now there are lists of the people who disappeared at different times, and I believe in 1996 there were a lot of people who disappeared in that area.
Correct.
So if one of these bodies or several of them match the victims, the disappeared victims, then you have that match of that particular year and month.
I mean, what we want, right? I mean, it's not easy having to live your life thinking about your loved one and what happened to that person for the rest of your life. You need to have closure. People need to know one way or the other, right? So our government,
and that is beyond race and religion,
that is
and
humanity, isn't it?
You know, it doesn't matter which country you're in.
It's human. It's human, right? It's humanity's sake. They need closure. They need justice for these victims. Then you can actually, put things to rest and live your lives. I mean, whatever the way you can. War is a bad thing, and this country saw a fair share of it, or more than that, more than a fair share. There's been enough tears and enough blood on this due to wrong political decisions and political bickering. Now, NPP came to power with a massive mandate from the people of the North and the East. Even these elections, we showed it. They have trusted us, the North and East, for the first time, I think after the 70s, that a mainstream party, regardless of their local politicians, have chosen us because they trust us. And as a government, this government has a far bigger mandate and a responsibility to ease their pain in their minds. So we will leave nothing untouched, nothing unturned. We will push this through. And also, I must say, now, as we say that, I've spoken with the South African and Swiss and Japanese ambassadors, the Troika, who came to speak to us and say, we will assist you in whatever the way we can. Now, the Missing Persons Office, we are preparing a letter, soon we will hand it over to them, requesting various trainings, assistance, because we are not experts in mass graves. So we are going to get foreign help also to improve the strength and the capabilities of our teams. And sometimes there may be situations where some of the bone DNA extractions, we don't have the best, the facility available here. So I've spoken to them already, saying on a need basis, we will consult them. So that means we are even willing to get the international cooperation and help to put an end to this, or to find the truth, rather, not put an end, but to find the truth. So when a government is working that hard and people making up allegations and stories just on FP, I mean, sometimes just to sell a book they're writing, or just to get more likes on their video, or for some political gain. These are not things any Sri Lankan citizen must do. People's pain and suffering and fate should not be marketed in this manner. But some politicians tend to do.
Absolutely. But then it's distasteful politics in Sri Lanka, which does happen all the time. But tell me, Minister, there seems to be a certain lack of public relations, PR, on the part of the government and the government entities. Now, I think this is a hangover from the past, because under past governments there was no transparency. I mean, not not from any government institution. So it takes a while to get these government institutions to be transparent. And I know that you are working hard to bring about a culture change, but all that can be laid at the door of the NPP government, can't it? That there is not enough transparency.
Absolutely. Now, for an example, now, although the NPP government is new, the government service is still the same old government service. The army is still the army. Of course, the top heads have changed. So there's a particular culture that has been inculcated, kind of a defensive mode. Don't want to share information. So what are we doing within the last 9 months? Coming forward and opening up to the public. So hopefully that will set the chain for others also to be the same. And we have told everybody that we are here to do justice and rule of law, and openness and transparency is part of our government, right? And we come to these questions, and my other MPs and other brother ministers and sister ministers, they go to these things, and we get questioned by media. This is our way. But yes, I agree with you. This public relations has to, we have to put a notch up. And I think that sometimes we do a lot of good things, but somehow a distorted version or a fake version tend to do more than the truth we do. Well, I'll accept that there's some problem and we'll need some positive approach on it. But as far as the government is concerned, nothing is hidden. Everything is there to see. I mean, as we always say, we came here to change a culture, a political mindset, which we have started changing. Nobody's above the law. No relatives or friends have been appointed to government positions. None of us, despite this massive mandate, we don't act in any arrogant fashion. And we are setting an example that after 5 o'clock in the evening, I'm not the Minister of Justice, I'm just another citizen, right? So it'll take time for good to go down. And let's hope things change fast, because our idea is to change the system.
Well, we need to take a short commercial break now. I am with the Minister of Justice and National Integration, the Honorable Harshana Nanayakkara. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
මෙයාට කොහෙද සංකල්පගේ ගර්ගේ නම් එක?
අම්මට මම මෙහෙ ආපු එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් දැම්ම.
මම අර කිව්ව විදියට එළමයා කාට හරි හම්බුනා නම් හෙට අනිත් වෙනකොට වැඩේ පත්තු වෙලා එනවාස.
හෙට රාත්‍රී 8:30ට
සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්
අපි ඇත්තටම නපුරු පිටසක් කොලෙක් මේ ලෝකෙට ගෙන්නමු.
හවස පාමාට්ටම ගෙන්නමුද?
දැන් ඉක්මනටම නපුරු පිටසක් වල ජීවින් හොයන්න ඕනේ.
අනේ ඔයා යාට තේරුම් කරන්නකෝ.
හැමදාම හවස 5:30ට නිකි.
ගන්නවත මට පෙන්නනවා තමුන්ගේ හැඳුනුපත.
ඇයි අනේ සෙමි බොයි කිව්වම හැමෝම දන්නේ.
ඔයා හිතන්නත් මං හිතපු දේවද?
මොනවාද නංගි හිතා ඉන්නේ හැමදාම 5:30ට සිරස ටීවී බලන්න.
සැමි බොයි
සතියේ දිනවල හවස 5:30ට සිරස ටීවී ඔස්සේ.
ඔය කොහමද නේ කම මිනිස්සෙක්ව මෙච්චර කාලයක් හිතේ තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ?
අපි කෙනෙක් වෙනුවෙන් බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා කියලා කියන්නේ ඒකේ නා කවදම හරි අපි ළඟට එයි කියලා කියන එකම නෙමෙයි.
උන් සෙට් එකට ඉන්නකම් අපිට මේ වැඩේ කරන්න අමාරුයි නෝර්.
මේ ක්‍රමේ කොයිතරම් දුරට හරියයිද නැද්ද කියන මම දන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි මේ වෙලාවේ තියෙන ළඟම හොඳම ක්‍රමය තමයි මේක.
Rocky Chapter 2 හෙට රාත්‍රී 8ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
ඔයාගේ වර්තමානයේ අනාගතයේ වෙන්න ඕනේ මං. ඔයා හිතන්න ඕනේ මං ගැන විතරයි.
අමුන්ට නේද තමන්ගේ දරුවා ගැන මිටිටි කැක්කමක් තියෙන්නේ?
ඒක තමයි මම මේ කල්පනා කළේ. තාත්තා හැටියට මගේ දරුවන්ට මං ගාව තියෙන කැක්කමට වඩා ලෝකෝ කැක්කමක් තමුන්ට ආවේ කොහොමද කියලා.
මම කොච්චර කාලයක් මිස්ව හෙව්වද?
එතකොට කියනවාක තමසේ මොකද්ද සීරියස් කරේ කියලා? මා එක්කත් නැත්තම් ඒකිත් එක්කත් එහෙම නැත්තම් තමසේ මොන වගේ පිරිමියෙක්ද ඔය?
මාව මතකද? හෙට රාත්‍රී 7:30ට
සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
Welcome back to Face to Face. I'm with the Minister of Justice and National Integration, the Honorable Harshana Nanayakkara. Now, Harshana, I'd like to drive home a point here that the discovery of mass graves in Sri Lanka around the country is nothing new. We had Suryakanda was the first one discovered in 94, and then in 94 itself there was Hokandara, and then 98 Chemmani, and many others have been discovered. But in each case the government of the day looked at covering it up rather than being transparent and bringing closure. And most of these mass graves are still there. The bodies were not moved, they are still there. Bodies were not identified. There were really no cases filed, nothing. But successive governments after that, during the 2000s, also didn't do anything about it. So they were all tacitly and perhaps actively or passively involved in a mass cover-up, wasn't it?
Well, you're right, because see, the people are still getting adjusted to the idea of an open government who's speaking the truth. Because our public has been, they have got used to viewing a government with suspicion, which is natural. If you look at the past.
Given our history, of course it's natural.
Yeah. And the rule is, we had journalists go missing. We had journalists being abducted for expressing their ideas, right? And I'm sure you remember, you would know best because you are a person who wrote about that particular tree bench trial where the
Krishanti Kumaraswamy and the Chemmani.
You're the first one to write about it on AP. More than all the others, you have more knowledge on this, which you can write books on, but you're out of good media ethics, don't disclose those things. But the truth is, from that time onwards, did you feel comfortable writing it? How did you feel as a journalist when you wrote?
No, not at all. Suryakanda, Chemmani, after I wrote it, I wondered whether I'd survive the day.
Now ask any journalist today, do they feel it anyway? Now look at all the people who are criticizing the government, sometimes baselessly and sometimes maliciously. But no person is being harmed for expressing their ideas and thoughts.
Well, I hope that practice continues.
It will continue.
Right.
It will continue because you know why? As I told you earlier in my questions, we came here to change it. We are a government who are not scared of the truth. We want the truth. We all came here for a job of work, not to sit on these chairs forever and go home after 5 years. Okay, I did my bit. No, we came to change. We are not here to earn. We are not here for the perks. Then what are we here for? To deliver the promises. Do they take time? Looks like it, with the resistance and the problems and the procedures involved. But people must understand, we are the first and the only government who's not engaged in cover-ups. We are not the ones who said, I won the presidency with the Sinhala Buddhist votes only. We didn't say that. We won because of them. Right? Neither are we trying to say we are going to take the army soldiers all to electric chair. No. Nobody says anything about when people died during war. Right? When people die during war, not even the UN agencies are questioning us. But during a peaceful time or during a non-war time, if you have handed over one of your children to the army camp and then they go missing, they have a right to question the government of the day. That is what we are looking at. Not trying to penalize all soldiers who fought the war, because that's what the other side of the political spectrum trying to create.
Well, just a point I'd like to make. Even during a war, civilians are protected by international conventions.
Absolutely.
So civilians going missing is not acceptable, or being murdered, not acceptable.
Not
but
at all.
Combatants is a different matter.
Definitely. What I'm trying to say, the point I was trying to make is it's natural for people of this country with their past experiences, right, to view a government with suspicion. And some certain politicians' remarks, baseless as they are, could raise that fear. But I can tell you everyone, we are the only government who's doing everything within our power and capacity, seeking help when necessary, even from overseas experts, to sort this problem out, because we don't want to cover up. What for? What for? I mean, we just have to, this is a human problem. So just, I'm telling you for the one last time that absolutely no reason to cover up.
Now,
we'll push it through.
Minister, you mentioned that you have already had some discussions with 3 countries, the diplomats of 3 countries, regarding expanding and enhancing the capabilities of our own investigators, our forensic teams, and so on.
Yes.
So that's very refreshing to hear.
Yes. Anyway, even right now, we are working with the ICRC. Currently, we are working with them, established already. But as you know, that there's not a lot of experts or specialists doing the mass graves. We have the archaeology department helping us. So, I mean, there are a lot of processes in doing a forensic investigation or handling a mass grave site, and there are standard operating procedures, certain norms that we have learned internationally. So there are those who know about mass graves far better than our own teams. So what, I have not still put the proposal to them, but when they came and told me, when they extend their helping hand, now my teams are working in the missing persons office. I think by next week they should give me a letter stating exactly what they need in the form of training or literature or education for our own teams to do this more efficiently, and also to adopt international best practices for recording and openness, because at the end of the day, it's pointless doing an investigation. When it's being over, people must be satisfied that we have done everything according to a very open and transparent mechanism. So these international practices. So we will make a request, especially to build the capacity of probably our archaeologists or the forensic scientists or our other JMOs and other professionals involved. It's a multidisciplinary approach. So one, other than capacity building, also I've told my teams, whenever you are doing it, if there's some science or some equipment or something that we cannot produce locally, don't let that be a stumbling block for your investigations. Tell the court, we have people that we can ask for help. It could be a lab facility, it could be some other expert opinion. So these 3 countries plus others are always open. All this time, no country ever reached to them and asked for help. Now they have reached us and we have reached to them, especially the Troika I told you earlier, Japan, South Africa and the Swiss Embassy, working throughout. So whenever, it is pointless, Niresh, just to please everybody, we are getting various experts and loading our sites and taking photos and putting them on paper to say, oh, look at us, we are getting international. That's not how you do things. We don't waste resources or time. Now, right now, I know for capacity building and empowering our people, a proposal is being made, which I think by next week I should be able to give it to our friends, the international friends, and also the other options when they arrive, scientific advice and help. So therefore, we are doing everything because we consider all people in this country as brothers and sisters, and we don't want anyone to be in pain.
Now, Minister, you mentioned international best practices. International best practices. Now, this raises a very key point. In these mass graves, the investigations of mass graves, there are international best practices because there are mass graves in many countries in the world.
Correct.
And the science of excavating them is now quite advanced, isn't it? I mean, I think the most recent graves which were uncovered are in Syria.
Correct.
After the fall of the Assad regime.
Correct.
And I think before that, even in Europe, in Kosovo, there were mass graves. And even today, there are mass graves being discovered which have nothing to do with war, which have to do with mass murders, which are being found in Western countries as well. So the exhumation process is the same, isn't it? It's all about a scientific process of exhumation.
Exactly. Now, what I'm trying to say is that even the ones who are engaged now are seasoned veterans in the trade. I mean, although we have not made a song and dance about it, most of these professions have been trained overseas for these things in specialized areas. But what we want to do is make it more widely available, these talents. So we'll have more and more teams working. Not that we don't have it, but most of these experts and the JMOs and the forensic scientists are exposed, and a lot of foreign agencies help them being trained. So we already have the expertise, not that we don't. But in the light of our new policy of empowering more and more of these teams, I have told the missing persons unit and the teams who are working in it to identify training needs, and if necessary we bring them down, the experts down, to help us.
Now, this exhumation of a mass grave is a painstaking process because you have to do it step by hand. You don't use a lot of machinery.
No.
And I recall the Suryakanda excavation, and what happened, that was abandoned because we didn't have experts back then. This was 1995 when it was the CBK government,
or the political will.
Yes, and when it was excavated, it was done with a backhoe. An ordinary construction backhoe was brought, and they tried to excavate, but they were unable to do so, and finally it was covered back up. So now there's a vast difference between that, which was of course nearly 30 years ago, and today.
Exactly. Is there anyone who's alleging, except one or two interested politicians, that there's foul play on the part of the investigations at Chemani? Nobody does. It's happening properly. You are right, it's a very painstaking job. When the weather is bad, it has to stop, right? It's tiresome. And remember, it is not just digging for something. It is about excluding all other possibilities except for the criminal one. That means these bones, you have to create, if they are scattered, you have to create. I mean, I am not even good enough. I don't even have good enough knowledge to even explain to you. All I know is difficult. It takes time. But, I mean, challenges in international gravesite investigation or whatever. First is what I say, a lack of political interference. Some governments obstruct to hide war crimes. I believe it happened here also in the past. Perhaps, I don't know. Right? Tampering with evidence. Mass graves are sometimes destroyed to prevent discovery. Okay, these things do happen. Limited forensic resources. Many countries lack trained forensic experts. Legal and bureaucratic barriers. Complex legal approval can delay exhumations. In this country, court is the one who's ordering, and no, there are no bureaucratic delays. Government is not trying to hide. Expertise we have. If we don't have enough, as and when it appears, we'll bring it down. It's a painstaking job, but it has to be done. And we are doing it. The problem is that it has to be done in such a way. I mean, even the timelines I showed you, we have to exclude all other possibilities. Just because there are bones, it cannot be a crime. The investigation must link it not with just a crime, but with a possible offender also. So that is what we are doing at the moment.
And that's not easy, considering this was 30 years ago.
This is why I thought, Niresh, that it's good that you asked me. So I could explain as the minister in charge of the missing persons unit. So people would know. I mean, you decide whether we are telling the truth or not. But there's not a single allegation we are mishandling anything. So when people are protesting on the road saying, give us justice, what do you think we are doing? That's what we are trying to do. But it's not an open and a shut case.
But may I put it to you that in this age of social media, that won't be enough. You need to every day or every 2 days or something like that, because otherwise the gap is too long.
Yeah, we will have to find a way to communicate. But what I thought was, first, I mean, this social media is very difficult. The attention span of anyone is less than 30 seconds. If there's anything longer than 1 minute read, they won't read. If it's so if you can give in bold letters in one go, they will read. So that's get the highest amount of shares. Frankly, I don't think we are in a situation where we can do that. But however, we can work out a press conference, and thereafter we kind of take clips of that and give it to various audiences. But what is necessary, as you said, is to disclose more information, which we are doing. I mean, it's nothing hidden here. So what I want to do is initially call a press conference. So let the media ask all the difficult questions from us. We will give all the answers. If we fail somewhere, please show us. We have nothing to hide, no agendas. We are here to do service, and we are open for criticism and correction. But not those politically motivated, malicious ones, because that's what's happening now. There was a politician who even mentioned that the secretary of our ministry was interfering in the investigation. I'd say, why don't you go and tell the court about it then? So the court will order. It's a court order. Who interfered? No. They say at places like in the parliament where we can't do much about it. As you know, parliamentary privileges prevail. So I'd say nobody, not the government, no person should use a person's tragedy, a country's tragedy for political mileage or anything, because that is disgusting politics I've seen. And we won't. Even if we lose, we won't do it.
Right. Now, one more important point that I want to bring up, which we discussed during your last interview here. You told us about the lack of expertise in all these departments which are under you, and that you were going to try to recruit people, and it's not easy. The Attorney General's department, you can't just recruit anybody. You need to recruit good lawyers, and the government analysts department, you need good scientists, and so on. Any progress on this front?
Well, funny that you asked. Just 2 days ago, I was struggling. As you know, present population is expanding because the government reports are getting delayed. They don't have enough, right? Our salary structures are problematic. But then again, we can't overload the public service. Like previous governments, what did they do? Where they come, they say, we are giving 50,000 jobs to graduates. No measurement of things, just political promises. But this time around, we have managed to get, so I didn't get everything I asked for, but happy to say over 1,250 across my departments, including prisons, government analysts, the legal draftman, even the Honorable Attorney General. It's not everything we asked for, but believe me, that will give us breathing space. So by now, it was approved about last Monday by the cabinet. So give us about a month or two for the recruitment process. Some of them will have exams. But by October, November, I will be able to speed up many things. In fact, I can open up 4 more new courts when the staff comes in, because there are buildings which are completed, but we don't have enough staff to open them. So now all the problems have been sorted because very thoughtfully the cabinet approved the over 1,200 appointments. Could do with more, but we'll leave it for next year. Now I have the breathing space to speed things up. So I'm quite happy at the moment.
Well, that's very good to hear. And on that note, I'm afraid we are out of time. My thanks to the Honorable Harshana Nanayakkara, Minister of Justice and National Integration, for being with us once again.
Thank you.
And I look forward to our next chat, which will be in a couple of months' time, I hope. And I must say that you are very accommodating. Whenever I do call you, you do.
I just have to thank you the giving opportunity for me to come and explain to the people what we do as government. Thank you very much for that.
Right, and thank you for being here. And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away because the news is coming up next. Take care and good night.